Today we're going to be talking about our Columbia Gorge Tesla road trip. The trip involved 227 miles one way, 4 hours of driving, and 2 charging stops. We were able to see some magnificent scenery, and we saw the amazing Columbia River. Every trip begins with a fun drive along Lake Washington, and this particular trip we were listening to the audiobook Black Reconstruction in America by W.E.B. Du Bois.
On the side of the exploiter, he had scant sympathy for the exploited. There was something of this, although not nearly as much, in the case of Thaddeus Stevens, who was at heart the greatest and most uncompromising of abolitionist Democrats.
As with many of our road trips, combined with plein air painting, we started our trip with a trip to procure art supplies at Michael's Art Supply Store.
But they are all held in subordination to that primal truth.
Then we were back on the freeway, headed southbound on I-5 on a beautiful sunny day.
Miso soup.
So
Thank you.
we started at 2:54 and we need to get up to 2:30.
So we need to get back to about 2:33, somewhere in there, in order to arrive at our destination with 50 miles still in the tank.
I thought we were losing battery capacity, so that
So when I first got the car, it could maximum capacity around 275.
oh, you're kidding, that's a lot.
Yeah, and it has degraded gradually over the years, so its maximum is now around 254.
191 miles of charging requires 40 minutes, which is just enough time for shopping and for lunch. Then it's time for shopping, and I found that Chico's in Centralia Mall was open. They didn't have a lot of shoppers, but the store clerk was extremely helpful. Unfortunately, the mall bathrooms were closed. Our next stop was Lucky Staley's Pool Hall, a McMenamins facility in Troutdale, Oregon. The pool tables were closed, but shuffleboard was open.
Stop.
One was the abolition of slavery, and the other was the new political power which the emancipation of these slaves would confer upon the South. Moreover, there appeared from the South, demanding seats at the opening of Congress, the Vice President of the Confederacy, 4 Confederate generals, 5 Confederate colonels, 6 Confederate cabinet officers. Although he knew that in this argument he was venturing far beyond the practical beliefs of his fundamental principles of our gospel of liberty, this is man's government.
We arrived at the Columbia Cliffs Hotel in Hood River, Oregon. The hotel was open, but they had a very nice plan for touchless check-in. And we should note that they have a few Tesla chargers, and one was available conveniently for us to use. I would highly recommend this hotel. They have a lovely facility and great views of the Columbia River. As the restaurants were not open, we pretty much needed to go grocery shopping, so we went to Rosauer's, where we found some roast chicken, which is actually my favorite meal.
We found our way to the grocery store.
I have to tell you a story about going to Rosauer's and the whole roast chicken. We were at Rosauer's and loading our own groceries when I saw in in a nearby parked truck what seemed like 4 migrant workers who were eating one of the roast chicken. And I thought it was really interesting because I actually have researched Hood River and the town, and Hood River has a really high percentile Hispanic population. It seemed like such a great common bond that roast chicken is such an appealing and affordable and soul-nourishing type of meal for just about everybody. Our first day in the Columbia Gorge, we went to check out the Rowena Crest Viewpoint as a possible location for setting up easels and doing some plein air painting. The view was spectacular, and we were not the only people at the destination checking it out. But it turned out that it was actually really windy, and it was hard to locate our easels in a place where we could actually look over the crest and the wall to capture the magnificent view of the Columbia Gorge and the Columbia River. So as an alternate, we took a bunch of photos, including this panorama. And we took a photo that would be the basis that we would use as a reference photo for our painting in the studio. The Columbia River Gorge features an incredible variety of geology and human history as it slices through the Cascade Range of the Pacific Northwest. There's a map on the Tesla that shows you where you are and a route to getting to your next destination.
Royal refugees, unoccupied lands in the south, to be allotted in parcels not exceeding 40 acres each. 5. That the titles grant his personal safety. We are going to allow him to get, on easy terms, homesteads.
That's a great view of Mount Hood, though. It happened that we were on Freeway I-84, and we passed the Dalles Dam, and we were rather curious, so we entered a driveway which didn't seem entirely closed to the public, but as it turned out, the gates were closed, and we were advised to turn around. We did go to the Dalles Dam Visitor Center, but due to the COVID situation, the building was closed. So we were able to take some photographs and admire the view of Mount Hood before turning around and leaving the parking lot. We have to give the federal government of the United States credit for building a series of hydro projects along the Columbia River. These dams and hydro projects not only provide fresh water for the farm industry, but they also provide a lot of really green or somewhat green and relatively inexpensive electricity for the region. Our next destination was Stonehenge. Not the Stonehenge that we all know of in the United Kingdom. This was Stonehenge in Klickitat County. We found Stonehenge in Maryhill, which is a small town in Klickitat County, very interesting. I'm not exactly an astronomer, but Ted was fascinated by the markings and the informative signage that indicated that it could possibly be used, that is, the layout of the stone formations could possibly be used as a solar calendar. The view of Mount Hood and the orchards from the Stonehenge Memorial was so spectacular, I decided to make a painting off of it.
Dalles Dam, Columbia River.
Our next stop was Memaloose State Park along the Columbia River, and we found it really fascinating. They not only had some restrooms, but they also had some signage which gave a lot of the history of the early settlers of Oregon and also the Native American tribes who were already settled in the Oregon area. I found this quote particularly interesting, remarking about the psychology and philosophy of the Pacific Northwest tribes. Quote, although the Pacific Northwest tribes were territorial, the concept of land ownership was alien. Lifestyle, religion, and identity were intertwined, and all were bound to the land. I have to admit I have a certain sense of guilt related to the history of the settlers and the Native American tribes who were already settled in the Pacific Northwest when the early settlers of America were beginning to cross the country in their covered wagons looking for a new life. On the one hand, I think we all acknowledge that we have introduced technology, hydropower dams, a more sophisticated industrial way of life to what was once the land occupied by the Native Americans. But on the other hand, we recognize there was a history that's not very pretty related to the disease that decimated the population of Native Americans, and also a sense of regret for the possibility that they might have been able to enlighten us as to a better philosophy for being stewards of the land. While our rental condo was not exactly an art studio, we did bring all the supplies that we needed to set up an impromptu art studio. And we had a great evening working on our paintings based on the photos that we had taken during sightseeing tours.
Days governor of the state. C.C. Edward later was also lieutenant governor.
On what would be our last day of our near-cation, like near to home, we checked out of our condo and we drove along the freeway to the Vista House. The Vista House was actually closed due to the current COVID situation, but we did find the drive really lovely, and the parking lot was open, so we were able to explore the grounds around the Vista House and also to take in the magnificent views of the Ice Age geological features.
Looks like we're not the only ones at the closed Vista House. Looks like they want us to park here.
Much of the Ice Age geology of the Columbia Gorge was altered by the construction of the dams. Celilo Falls, for instance, was buried for the Dalles Dam.
Yeah, we might want to actually explore one of the superchargers in southern Washington. So we started about 12 miles short, and I'm keeping the air conditioning on even when we're out walking around, so that eats up extra miles. So we're going to be well under 50 if we want to make it off and go all the way to Centralia before we recharge. That's right. Oh, that's the chargers.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Be sure to visit artsywiz.com for the latest on my artistic forays, or to inquire about commissions or available work. Anyways, thank you for joining me in this video. I hope you subscribe to my channel. I hope you'll come and visit me again and watch my videos. And don't forget to like my video. Again, this is Fun Shoe from the Artsy Wiz channel, and I'll see you next time.